On Law Weekly today, we talk about the looters list of the federal government. Is there really any justification for the release of such a list? We have the views of two senior legal practitioners on the issue. Corruption continues to be tagged as one of the biggest challenges facing the country's development, so much so that President Muhammadu Buhari defined corruption as the greatest form of human rights violation. The Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Abubakar Malami, and the acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Ibrahim Magu, have had cause at several times to speak out against corruption and to demonstrate this administration's resolve to constantly fight against graft.
It is indeed true to state that there were cases that have been pending in court for over a period of 10 years before the coming into place of this administration. But then, by way of analysis, I have to draw your attention to some of the higher profile cases that comes into play after the coming into being of the present administration. Take, for example, the cases relating to judicial officers that were arraigned some times back. For your information, and I believe you have been monitoring the development, it is conclusive that these cases have reached advanced stages. For example, the case of the prosecution has been closed within a period of 2 to 3 months, as against the conventional practice before the coming into being of this administration, where cases remain for over 6-7 years without even being kick-started. So I think, in fairness to the justice sector reform being pursued by the present administration, you have to differentiate between the two: the period before coming into play of this government and then the period thereafter. We have religiously been guided by the Administration of Criminal Justice Act as far as prosecution of cases is concerned. And indeed, we have taken our time to ensure adequate investigation is indeed carried out as it relates to the prosecution of these cases, and indeed stand our ground that the prosecution must equally be alive to its responsibility. And then we are happy that the courts the courts equally have keyed into the understanding for speedy and expeditious determination of cases, and that has given rise to the expeditious conduct we have been witnessing in the prosecution of high-profile cases of recent. The fight against corruption is not selective. The fight against corruption is indeed focused, and that you can have the establishment of, that position can indeed be established by the fact that people within the military circle are being prosecuted for corruption. Members of political parties are being prosecuted. Members of the executive are being prosecuted. The legislature, and above all, the judiciary. So if at the end of the day, you have a policy of prosecution arising from corruption and corrupt practices that cut across the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, and the military, then what are you talking about in terms of being selective? The truth of the matter is it is all encompassing, it is not selective, and it is indeed focused.
The best strategy in fighting corruption, to mobilize everybody, is to mobilize everybody to join in the fight against corruption, because it's a game of number. The more Nigerians you have into, the more Nigerians we make them to realize that they are also stakeholders in this fight. The more Nigerians, because we have different strategies. You don't have to fight corruption the way I fight. Maybe you don't have my powers. But if you can just educate children at home and tell them the devil, the evil in corruption is a disaster, and let them understand that corruption is wrong, that corrupt people need not to be celebrated. Despite all the corruption fighting back, you know, even within the system, outside the system, I think it's still okay. We are still afloat. Everybody is, I mean, you have seen it. You have seen what we have done. And I'm very happy that this unexplained wealth in UK has come to place now. And we are very seriously working with the UK authorities. And very soon we will put head together, we will trace. You can't remove one kobo outside this country that is not traced. I'm telling you. One of my greatest frustrations is the activities of the senior law officers, who are some senior law officers, some senior law officers who are really doing everything possible to frustrate what we are doing for pecuniary reason. I feel very unfortunate. I think the younger lawyers and some of the senior lawyers who are very serious should do everything possible to bring sanity into this. Otherwise, some people just jump from one court to the other and advertise themselves. They are against what we are doing. And what we are doing is for the betterment of this country, to give better life for the next generation.